Mr. Paul video. In this segment, we're going to be discussing what does it mean to be able to come up with equations given a graph. So the best way to understand this is to know where we came from. Where we came from was what happens if I give you an equation? Could you graph this line? So we're going to take a moment to review what happened in Module 4. So in Module 4, we were given the equation of a line, and we had to graph this line. So when we look at this equation right here, we can identify key elements, namely our m and our b, because this is in slope-intercept form. So what we had to do when we were graphing was we had to understand that the b was our y-intercept. So whatever our line looks like, it had to start at the y-intercept. Mainly, it had to start at -1 because our b was -1. To be able to create more points, to be able to see the line, we had to follow our slope, meaning this 1/4, where the 1/4, even though it was a fraction, told us a lot about how the relationship between one number and another existed. So for example, the 1 was the rise. 1 was rise, and then 4 was run. Wow, this handwriting is very bad, but it's with a mouse, so it's okay. Where 1 was rise and 4 was run. Well, what does that mean? Well, if we start at -1, to get to another point, we have to rise 1, meaning we have to go up 1, which is this piece, and then run 4, meaning we had to go this direction 4 spaces. And this would be the location of another point. To find more points, rise 1, run 4. Rise 1, run 4. Each time we're rising by 1 and then running by 4. Now these lines and boxes, these dots, are not part of our graph, but they help illustrate this relationship of rise of 1 and run of 4 between one point and the next. So let me erase some of this stuff. Let me erase the unnecessary pieces so we can really see the line at work. So let me erase all of this except for just the points. Now, if I activate this line, you'll see that the line that's created includes all of these points. The relationship between all of the points is actually a ratio between 1, which is my change in y, also known as my rise, and a change in x, also known as my run, which is a 4. So it's 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. This is how you created a graph. So when we're moving ahead to where we can write the equation of a line, we are looking for key points to help us understand more about our slope, and we're looking for y-intercept to help us find our b. So let me erase this real quick. Let me erase all this. Wow, erasing takes forever. Okay. So when we take another example, I'm going to ask you, what is the equation of this line? It's going to come down to our understanding of y equals mx plus b. Now, once again, the b is the y-intercept. The b is the y-intercept. We're getting really good at that. And the m is our slope. And we're going to keep in mind that the b is the y-intercept. It could take the form 0, b, and m is rise over run. So when we're looking at this graph here, we're looking at first the b. We're looking at our b. And our b is our y-intercept. So we're looking at this line and we want to know where it crosses the y-axis. Right here. It crosses the y-axis at this location right here. As you can see, that -1 is what's going to be my b. This is saying that my y-intercept is at -1. Okay. Well, let me erase that real quick. How do I get after the slope? Well, I'm trying to identify key points. So one key point is going to be the y-intercept. I want to choose another point on this line, on this red line right here, where I know what the values are. So technically I could choose any point that I want, but I don't want to choose a point somewhere like right here, because if I have to rise and run to this point, do I go up 0.6 and then over 1? I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to choose points that are on these dark lines. Do you see where these two dark lines intersect? That's because that's when the graph is at whole numbers. So I'm looking on my line and I want to stop on locations of whole numbers. So this is a very good example. As you can see, the dark lines meet there and my line crosses over it. From here, I can connect these 2 points with a rise line and a run line. I'm doing this not because it's part of my graph, but it helps illustrate what I'm looking at. I'm rising 2 boxes, 2 spaces, and I'm running 3 spaces. My rise is 2, my run is 3. So my rise is 2, my run is 3. If I wanted to create the equation for this line, I just substitute the 2 things in. Y equals 2 over 3 x minus 1. If given an m and given a b, can you find the slope? Well, now I can show you that that's actually true. So when we unlock this, you'll see that the equation of this line is y equals 2 over 3x minus 1. 2 over 3 being the slope, now I got to close this so it goes back to where it was, is the slope, meaning the connection between 2 points that I know for sure, and the y-intercept being my starting point, where it crosses the y-axis. Let's look at another example. Here's a line, and I want to find the equation of this line. To be able to do that, I have to go back to the idea of y equals mx plus b, where b is my y-intercept and m is my slope. Now I only need these 2 pieces of information. The easiest being is the y-intercept. I'm looking for where this line crosses the y-axis, meaning this area right here, and it crosses in this location. When the line crosses, it's at -3. So my y-intercept is at -3. The slope is a little bit harder. I'm trying to connect 2 points that I know for sure. The first one I know for sure is going to be my y-intercept. The second one is going to be on a location on my line where it meets up with some of these darker cross sections. Okay, so I'm going to follow my line, follow my line, follow my line. I'm going to keep following it until I get to a point like this. It's where my red line and my darker lines meet. This makes my counting a lot easier. So if I make my box like this, it's really easy that I can count the length of this box. This length is 2. This length is 5. Therefore, my run is 2. It's counting up 1, 2. My run is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if slope is rise over run, my slope is 2 over 5. Putting these all together, the equation of my line is y equals 2 over 5 x plus, oops, not plus, okay, plus a -3. It was just, we got to get rid of that part. Plus a -3 is just minus, right? Plus a -3 is just minus. So -3. This is the equation of my line. And we can see that this is true by opening this back up. Y equals 2/5 x minus 3. That's all for this video. I hope that this helps. I do know how complicated this gets, but we're going to keep at it and we're going to have a great time. Until next video, peace.